Hello, listeners, and welcome to another episode of Subscription Scaled. I'm your host, Nick Frederick. With me today is Jay Bregman. He is the founder and CEO of Thimble. Jay, thanks for coming on the show today.
It's a pleasure. Thanks so much for having me.
Well, you guys are setting out to change the way that small business owners think about buying insurance. So tell us a bit about that business, how you guys came to be, where you focus, and your role there.
Yeah, well, by way of background, I've started three businesses. My last business was a ride-sharing company in London called Halo that was sold to Daimler a couple of years ago. And one of the things that I recognized after Halo was how small businesses were being created and evolving in a different way, empowered by technology, particularly mobile technology. It was much more transactional, much less let's buy a shop front, wait till we're big enough, have 5 employees, and buy an annual insurance policy. And one of the things that we recognized needed to be changed in order for this true future of work vision to be realized, and we recognized for this future of work to actually be realized, there needed to be a fundamental change in business insurance. And so we sought out to change the business insurance market forever. And I teamed up with a friend of mine, Eugene Hertz, that had co-founded a business called Diapers.com, sold to Amazon in 2011. It was one of the biggest exits from Amazon at the time, next to Zappos. And we got together with this idea of creating the ultimate platform for first-time SMB insurance buyers that were your modern customer, right? The future of the insurance industry. And so one of the things that we did was we built this amazing platform so that they could buy on an app. We're the only app in the App Store that allows you to buy and manage business insurance. That basically you could buy on the web too. You could do everything that you wanted to with only 3 questions. So we eliminated all the unnecessary underwriting questions that people are used to when they're buying insurance, and just distilled it down to the absolute necessity, taking into account the fact that businesses don't have that much, that much time to be able to, to devote to buying an insurance policy and managing an insurance policy. And we did everything so that you didn't have to use the phone at all. You could change anything on your policy. You could add people to your policy. You could do it all in a completely digital programmatic way, just like most consumer services out there. So that was one aspect of what we did. The second aspect was how we changed the policies themselves fundamentally. So, right now, really, business insurance is a one-size-fits-all. It's either an annual policy or nothing. And that's how it's been for a long time. That suits the insurance companies, but it doesn't suit the consumers, right? Because business owners often don't know what's going to happen next week, let alone next month, let alone next year. And so we created a number of different policies where insureds could buy down to a single hour, up to a month of insurance, so they could get insurance for a particular job and get started. Then we created a true subscription, the Netflix of small business insurance, called what we call Thimble Monthly, which is a true month-to-month subscription that you subscribe to, but you're only subscribing on a month-to-month basis, only committing on a month-to-month basis, not making an annual commitment in order to purchase. And you can pause the policy, you can modify the policy midterm. So it's just like the consumer services that these individuals are used to purchasing in their normal everyday lives. And together this has created a system for attracting and selecting the modern SMB insurance buyer, to the extent where 72% of our customers never had business insurance before, and 54% of our customers started their business within the last 3 years.
Those are some pretty amazing stats. 72% never had insurance before. Is it because they didn't have a need, or they were just riding without it for a while?
So look, a lot of these businesses wanted insurance because a lot of these our insureds are not buying insurance because they believe their businesses are risky. They're buying insurance because they know there is work out there that requires insurance. They're a handyman that wants to get a job at Best Buy. and Best Buy requires $1 million of insurance. They're a landscaper that wants to get a contract, with a gated community that requires $1 million of insurance. Pretty much any business service in America right now that you want to get into requires a certificate of insurance, and so we find a way to be able to provide that to our insureds in a simple and easy way.
So you were, in giving your background there, you were talking about changing the way that insurance was marketed and operated with small business owners, but you had to get the insurance companies there and comfortable with this concept, right? They weren't selling it that way for a reason. So what were some of those obstacles that you had to deal with? And if I look back in my background, I actually worked for a merchant that did, I would say, subscription insurance back in the day. We did AD&D and HIP and HAP types of insurance, guaranteed issue. But dealing with different states and their DOIs and all of the different rules that each of them had, that was a massive headache. So how have you overcome some of those specific obstacles?
So Thimble has become an expert in creating new insurance policies from scratch, managing those insurance policies and approvals with DOIs. We do it all ourselves. We don't
Okay.
do any of that with the insurance companies. Yes, there are capacity issues where basically insurers have to sign on to our platform, but we have a long-standing relationship with Markel, which is one of the best in the industry, which has supported us for many years. And we have a loss ratio that is better than any company that we have ever heard of in selling the types of insurance that we do, general liability, professional liability in the marine. We're talking about 66% better than anybody else because of the fact that these first-time buyers are actually better risks. Not to mention the fact that we're pricing a little bit higher than the normal annual policies because people value convenience over cost.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, so that you solved that side of the problem. The other side of your problem is, small business owners. You said they act a lot like consumers, which they do, but they don't think about, hey, I can go to the App Store, download an app, and buy my insurance that way. So how are you educating them on this new way to
Yeah.
procure insurance?
It's funny that you say that because 30% of our policies are purchased on our apps. So there are indeed people who are doing that nowadays. 42% of our customers who buy on the web download our app after they purchase on the web because they know it's a way that they can manage their policies. But basically, when people make a buying decision as a modern first-time insurance buyer, what they want to know is it's their kind of company. And their kind of company has an app, their kind of company has a website, their kind of company doesn't have a phone number that you have to do everything on. And so it is part of the experience that we are creating that all of these features are available, whether they happen to be used by people or not. For example, the pause feature that we have, it's been used thousands of times, right? People have paused their policies and they come back, COVID, all kinds of other things. But it's more of a selling tool, right? So when people go to buy policies from us, what they see is these guys offer a pause feature and instant cancellation and no annual commitment. And those things together mean this is just a service more for me, right? I don't want to have to be locked in and on the phone with an insurance company trying to cancel or trying to beg to pause my policy. So it's a very different mentality, and that's really the mentality that our company has aced.
Is there any specific segment or niche of small business owner that you're targeting? Is it the small shop owner? Is it digital online businesses, or
Yeah.
just you kind of serve all?
It's a good question. So ultimately, we want to be everything, right? Right now, we're a couple hundred different types of work. Some of the larger segments, handymen and contractors, home repair, blue collar. Why? Because they need insurance, and they've been frankly left behind by technology, right? So they're technological, but they don't have technical solutions that usually are tailored or work for them. So that's a big solution for a big segment for us. We also have things like photographers, right? Who are constantly on the go, constantly basically, going to shoots, that also are very popular with our platform. But all in all, it is a massive mix between your kind of traditional blue collar, traditional white collar, and a very, very widespread, diverse array of different businesses, that represent the economy, which is, a great place to be for us.
You have seen these different, photographers, maybe I don't know if that was one that you anticipated when you got started, but as you've seen these different types of customers come on, have you had to pivot the business, offer it in a different way, or maybe tailor the product or the experience around where these guys are coming from?
Well, photographers are a good example. So we originally launched photography with just general liability. So liability for injury to third parties or damage to the property of others. Then we added an option for professional liability. You screw up the wedding photos, example. Then the photographers started saying to us, "Well, what about my camera? I got a $20,000 camera here. Why
Hmm.
can't I get insurance for my camera all included?" So then we added inland marine coverage. With handymen, we basically identified kind of gaps in the general liability coverage that a lot of them don't know about. So handymen, they go to a home, they hang a TV. Could be a $1,000 TV, $2,000 TV, whatever. They drop the TV. Well, not covered under normal general liability insurance because it's considered to be in their care, custody, and control when they drop it. So we provide now an add-on at checkout that allows them coverage for that particular situation. It's extremely popular. Again, it's an educational tool. It's an educational process as well.
Yeah, yeah, that's an excellent example of well, an adjustment that you guys have made as you've seen, who your target customer is and really meeting them where their needs are. Do you have any other examples like that? Because I think that's a fascinating concept of, we went to market with this product, we started seeing who was using it, and we pivoted to meet that consumer base.
Yeah, so any other examples? There are examples that are forthcoming. So, for example, we are adding property coverage. Why are we adding property coverage? Well, one of the reasons is because we have a lot of home-based businesses, and home-based businesses have inventory. They sell on Etsy, etc. Now, of course, that's not covered by homeowners insurance at all, and
Hmm.
they know that, right? But the inventory could be of significant value, so that's something that they want coverage for business contents insurance. We also have evolving customers that basically do well and move from one sector to the other that have different needs. So we have a husband and wife team that we were selling insurance to as vendors at fairs to sell bread. And the bread was so popular that they got the ability to actually buy a bakery, or to lease a bakery, I should say. And they came to us first. They were so excited. They want to stay with their insurance provider, and they wanted coverage for the bakery. At the time, we couldn't provide it, but now we're building the infrastructure to be able to support those kind of evolutions of our businesses.
One more I have to ask you about that I saw on the website was the drone insurance. I think that's fascinating sign of the times right there.
Hey, absolutely. I mean, it's been running. It's actually where we started. It was the very first vertical that we
Okay.
attacked, and it's still something that is being used, thousands and thousands and thousands of times a month all over the country, as a means of providing protection for a very specific type of activity. It's been used on some major productions. It's been used to film Virgin Galactic. I mean, there's some crazy stories about how that product has been used over the years.
Well, one of the things that I just was clicking around in it because I thought it was pretty interesting, but the questions that it takes you through the site about how long do you need this for? Do you need it for an hour, or do you need it for days or weeks? And then show me where you're going to be flying this thing and how far are you going a few hundred yards? Are you going a mile out, or what are you doing? But Yeah, I'm sure that was very specific to that type of insurance, but is also probably necessary because these guys don't want to overpay for it, right? But the more you understand about what they're going to be using it for, the better you can provide a policy, right?
I mean, look, nobody else thought about the fact, everybody else that provided drone insurance, provided annual drone insurance, where they asked you how many times you flew and all kinds of other questions, and they looked at your website, to see if there was anything crazy on there. And we just said, look, it's really all about where the drone is flying, and where the user is, and whether there are any hazards around there. And it's a calculation. It's an algorithm, and so that's what has produced the prices to this day. And we keep that same mentality when it comes to other kinds of businesses. We just try and keep it as simple as possible, as an algorithm where each of the factors really contributes to the risk and to the selection, rather than being something that is just a question some underwriter in some ivory tower decided that they
Right.
wanted to ask and never got taken off the application, because of course it never does.
Right. Nothing more frustrating than filling out questions on an application that you just know are not relevant to whatever it is you're trying to get. Yeah. Well, let's turn to customer acquisition for a minute. What are you guys seeing in terms of effective channels these days? I mean, from Google Ads, Facebook, email marketing, like how are you reaching customers today, or
Well,
prospective
look,
customers?
I think one of the most interesting channels that I think is growing really rapidly with our business is embedded API integrations. So you have to understand. So we're a service that is very easy to use. It only has a couple of questions. Everything can be managed programmatically. So it sort of lends itself to, hey, why don't we go on to Angie's List and
Right.
embed onto Angie's
Hmm.
List Pure Space or even Hiscox, which is nominally a competitor, and basically, why don't we extend our reach to those places, and distribute our product that way?
Yeah.
And that is extremely successful. We're learning more about it every day. But basically, it's just much easier for Thimble to do than even an InsurTech, or Hiscox or whatever, because they have to ask 30 or 40 questions before they issue the policy. No partner wants to see somebody going through their flow and saying, oh, wait 1 second, maybe you want insurance, here's 30 questions that you want to answer, it's going to take you 15 minutes while you're diverted from everything I'm trying to get you to do.
Right.
So we think
Right.
embedded insurance is the future, and we are investing very heavily in it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of power in that affinity partnership with the likes of an Angie's List, who clearly have, the suppliers, which are prospective customers of yours, really built in right there, right? So how have you found, or where do you decide the right partnerships are, and how do you reach these people? Because I've had a lot of these conversations with other startups as well. They see the value in partnership, and but don't really know necessarily how best to cultivate these things. So what's worked for you?
Yeah, look, I think that, it has to be something where the partner is large enough and uh, there is an interest in providing insurance, that is, or in purchasing insurance. So I'll give you an example, right? So PeerSpace is a peer-to-peer events platform. It's one of the biggest and best in the United States, a great system. And a lot of the spaces are used by photographers. And so they have very carefully worked with us to recognize when somebody is renting a space because they're going to use it for a shoot. And then they have a page, bam, that they show, would you like insurance for this? If you don't have insurance, blah, 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 blah. And the conversion is off the charts, right? So basically, it's really about identifying with the partner what the problem is that insurance is trying to solve, and then going and working with them to solve it. And our technology is flexible enough to do whatever needs to be done, in order to do that. But I think that's the major thing. There are other implementations that we've seen or that people have tried to do. It's, these people have 100,000, 500,000 users, but if they're not looking for insurance in any way and there's no way to really capture them, then it's just not going to be effective.
Yeah, you're right. There's got to be that fit with whatever that partner is and whatever particular product or service you're providing, right? And that's key for it to being effective, or it's probably not going to work with your time and investment or theirs, right?
Right.
Yeah. Another, as you've been talking about, an application that I can think of. So I like to, I'm based here in Nashville, and I've actually had two careers previously in the music industry, specifically on the live event side.
Wow.
And, working for artists, we would always require that, any event promoter or anybody that's putting it on, a producer, add us as additionally insured, on their insurance policies. And I had many conversations with promoters, and they were going, "What insurance? What do I need insurance for?" And so educating them on needing it and then how to, add us on it was was always challenging. But are you seeing that as a space for potential opportunity as well?
Absolutely. And that is something that we have really built into the product. So it is so easy to add an additional insured, add the email of the additional insured. So the additional insured gets the initial copy. They get updates if there's any changes. But we've actually there's more. We've gone even beyond that. So we've created a product called Certificate Manager, which is designed for venues that are basically hiring large amounts of contractors and trying to manage this. The biggest way they're managing it now is a spreadsheet, Excel. It's a disaster. I mean, and there are products out there that are not that great that cost, tens of thousands of dollars a year. Ours is free. So basically what we do is we create this excellent web-based product that allows them to send requests of insurance to particular suppliers. And then the suppliers, they either upload the insurance if they have it, or they buy it direct from us and it goes right into the system.
Beautiful, right?
Yeah, and so we think that system, Certificate Manager, is going to be a slam dunk.
Man, do I wish that product was around 20 years ago.
Well, let me tell
Would
you
have
something.
made my life easier.
Wait till you see some of the clients that may be using Certificate Manager in the near future. I mean, it
Wow.
is really attracting some of the biggest and best.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the customers that you do have and what you're doing to keep them happy and hold on to them, right? One of the issues that we've seen as the economy has gone up and down, people have lost jobs is collecting payment from customers. That can be challenging in and of itself. And things like chargebacks and refunds pop up as customers find themselves in weird circumstances. Have you guys found any challenges there, or is insurance one of those products where they need it, right? And they know they need it, and it's not actually good unless they have paid for it, and therefore that kind of takes care of it for you.
Yeah, look, when you're paying month to month, chargebacks are just not a big issue, right? So it's the nature of the service. The other thing I would mention is chargebacks are not an issue when you can cancel on the app easily in 10 seconds. So again, chargebacks become an issue if you're a traditional provider where you make it so difficult for them to cancel that they have to call their credit card company because it's easier to do that than it is to cancel. So look, we haven't seen a market increase in cancellations. Business is booming. We've doubled our revenues in the past 6 months. None of those things are really material issues for us at this point. And so, we may long it continue.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's definitely a good place to be. Um, I think I have to ask, and as I do most people, that COVID and the pandemic that has gone up and down and now back up again has had major impacts, really across every vertical. What have you guys seen, and what changes did you guys make along the way to deal with this, this new world that we're in?
Yeah, I think the biggest mistake that I probably made was cutting back on marketing spend when COVID originally hit. Had I done things again, I would have probably increased it. I mean, that's really the truth. Because what happened was, in reality, is there was so much demand for home services, home repair, landscaping, all of these services related to the home, the house, right? That it far outweighed any short-term losses on the part of photographers or people in the entertainment industry, et cetera. So we are we have continued to grow like crazy during COVID. We're diversified enough, so it's not an issue for us. We're not afraid of Delta or any other any other potential issue. And as a matter of fact, if more lockdowns happen, it may actually be positive in the same way that the first positive for our business, not positive for everybody else, but in the same way that the first ones were, because people are in their homes, and that dynamic is the same. So this is really an anti-cyclical business when it comes to COVID and its related restrictions.
So to dig into your first comment a little bit, you said you had pulled back on marketing and wished you had actually increased it. What was it the unknown that you think was driving your decision at that time, just not knowing, hey, what does a lockdown really look like? How long is it going to go on, and what businesses are going to thrive or fall through this time?
Yeah, look, when you're running a venture-backed business, you have to have fiduciary responsibilities to the shareholders and the employees. And when something major and severe happens that is unprecedented and you don't know about, it's not really the time to make a big bet. The safe bet is conserve cash a little bit, and then to see what happens. Now, it was only a quarter or something less than that, but I mean that was basically based on the information we knew then. We didn't know what was going to happen, and so spending less on marketing seemed like a prudent idea. But if I had to do it again, knowing what I know now,
Right.
I'd spend
Yeah.
more.
Yeah. Well, you talked about the home services and all of the things that have really just, grown exponentially throughout COVID. I think, a lot of people lost traditional jobs or walked away from them for whatever reason and have reinvented themselves in different ways. And, the quote unquote gig economy has exploded, right? Of people maybe becoming freelancers or doing things on their own, which put them in that small business category, right? So I think I would think, and curious your perspective on, being able to reach those that are going into a business for the very first time, whether, as a solo entrepreneur or starting up a business, but, are going to need to be thinking about things like insurance and would love to, I'm sure, buy these things in a way that they are accustomed to as a consumer rather than going the traditional routes.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you look at the stats, coming out of the U.S. government, uh, the more than 100% growth year on year in new business formations, new EIN formations. That is unprecedented. 40 years we've never seen it. So
Mhm.
basically, what we're seeing now is the leading indicator of exactly what you've described, which is these businesses they will start as one-person businesses, they'll become slightly larger businesses, but they're all consumers who used to do other things, and basically they're not people who've been in business for 20
Right.
years, et cetera, et cetera. So,
Yeah.
we also agree that the market size, the addressable market of small business insurance will probably increase even greater than the $160 billion a year that it is today because of these types of changes, which is incredible.
So, turning a little bit towards one of the things that makes subscription and insurance and its recurring nature so attractive is the fact that it makes it a whole lot easier to predict cash flow. And it's an ongoing engagement with a customer, right? You do sell one off, but you're hoping to keep them on these monthly products and keep them going for a long time. So what has that done to your ability to run and grow your business by being able to, more effectively predict cash flow and contrast that to maybe some of the other businesses that you've started up like Halo and others where it's more transactional?
Yeah, it's interesting. So, Halo and others are more transactional, but they are also, they are relatively predictable, meaning that basically the amount of rides that people take within reason and within bands can be relatively
Okay.
predicted. Not as well as a subscription, but all of those services have subscriptions now. When it comes to kind of traditional insurance providers and subscriptions, people say, well, they have better economics because people are on a subscription. It's not true. People cancel subscriptions left, right, and center their first, second, and third years as small businesses because they're only buying the subscription because they needed it for a small period of time. So we actually get a better deal in terms of attrition because we're selling people what they want. That said, look, ultimately the way that you lock customers in this business is by providing them multiple products that they need. So basically, if they have not only with you general liability, but also professional liability, but also property, but also potentially workers' comp, it is much easier for you to predict that they will stick with you, for a certain period of time than it is if they just have, one product with you. So that is really our focus, which is how do we get our insureds into a multi-product universe?
So what being able to predict in the ways that you just described, how has that affected your ability to or how you've run the business day to day? Say taking the predictable cash and putting that into marketing. Have you found that you're able to make better decisions because of that because it is more stable, or is it kind of not that big of a deal like compared to other businesses that you've run?
So look, I think insurance is a relatively stable business compared to any other type of business. But look, we're a young startup business. We don't bank on the money coming in forever, right? We're always living a little bit on the edge in terms of how can we make things better? How can we be cautious here? What could happen that could change the dynamics negatively of what we're doing? That's the kind of constant fear that I think makes for savvy entrepreneurs.
Right. Well, as you go from, your first product and continue growing over time, you almost like an insurance company spread out the risk, right? You've got multiple avenues for and different types of segments of business that you can reach out to and drive revenue from. So that in and of itself, I'm sure adds stability to your business. But when it comes to making investments, I assume one of the biggest ones that you have to make are going to be around technology and people, right? Those are the major investments that you're making in your business. How do you work through when is the right time to make those investments and how do you go about it? And I think, technology is a good example of, okay, we started with one product. You probably want to get up and running as quickly and easily as possible, but you also have the intent of growing your business and it getting more complicated. So some of the walled garden solutions, third-party solutions that are out there might have been good to start, but they're not good for the long term. So how do you weigh those out and make the right decisions?
Yeah, we don't really mess around with the walled garden solutions.
Okay.
We develop most of what we do in-house. Our philosophy is hire the best, hire quickly as we can, as big as we possibly can in terms of what our funding allows us to do. We invest product first. We support product first because product ultimately allows everything else to happen, right? It allows us to have more products that we can sell to customers. It allows us to have people looking at the attrition rate of customers and how to improve it. It allows people to look at the conversion flow in marketing and everything that we can do to improve that. So when we think about investing in product, we think ahead of the curve.
So in terms of product, that leads me into my last question here. What's next for you guys? Is there anything coming down the pike that you can talk about now, or you can also talk about it, I think, more generally in terms of, maybe segments of the market or just general product enhancements that you guys are looking at next?
So look, I think what you will see about Thimble the rest of this year and into next year is a real robust solution, meaning that basically more classes, more types of businesses, more types of coverage, all within the same beautiful platform that we have today, same elegant platform that we have today. And that's a tough thing to do. That's a tough product
Sure.
challenge, by the way, for
Yeah,
the
I
team
believe
to
it.
do. So you will be able to pull out the Thimble app towards the end of this year, and you will be able to buy many more things, but you will think it is the same beautiful experience as when we just sold GL or even just sold drone insurance and did it so elegantly. So I think that we are really trying to perfect the user experience, and that's what we expect we will achieve by the end of this year.
Making complexity simple is certainly a challenge, isn't
Oh yeah.
it? Absolutely. Well, Jay, I've really enjoyed the conversation, and I've learned a lot from just what you've shared today. I trust the listeners have as well. If they want to check out Thimble, or maybe there's a question that they want to ask you, or about Thimble, where can they go?
So if you want to ask me, it's just Jay, that's Jay at thimble.com. If you want to go to Thimble, it's thimble.com or search Thimble on the app or Play Store.
Well, Jay, thanks once again. Really enjoyed it, and best of luck to you and the Thimble team.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, Nick. Thank you for having me. I hope to come back.
Thanks again.